This Chazor Zeichen Ishbach Yehudim says Chullin Daf pay test. Rabbi Abba said something that's stolen and then consumed is the most difficult thing to do tshuva for. So much so that even complete tzaddikim have trouble with that. Like the pasuk says that although Avram refused to accept anything from the king of Sodom, he said he's going to keep what his men had already eaten. Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rav Shimon, said, wherever you find an agadic drasha of Rabbi Eliezer, the son of Rabbi Lili, make sure to listen to it. Rabbi Eliezer darshan the pasuk that says that Hashem chose us as His people because we are the smallest of all nations. He darshan this to mean that Hashem says He chose us because even when He put greatness upon us, we act humbly. For example, when greatness was given to Avram, He said, when it was given to Moshe and Aaron, they said, V'nachnu ma. When it was given to David, He said, V'anoichi soilas v'lo yish. However, the Goyim don't act like that. When greatness was given to Nimrod, he went and wanted to build a tower and rebel against Hashem. When it was given to Paro, he said, Mi Hashem. When it was given to Sancheiriv, he said, Mi b'chol Elahei ha'aratzos. When it was given to Nebuchadnezzar, he said, Ella al-Bamasei of. When it was given to Hiram, the king of Tzur, he said, Yoshavti b'leiv yamim. Zachmar Vaita Ravo Rabbi Yochanan said, what's written about Moshe and Aaron shows a greater level of humility than what was written about Avram. Because they said, what are we? Whereas Avram said, I am earth and ashes, which at least has some substance to it. Rava Rabbi Yochanan said, the world exists only because of Moshe and Aaron. They said, V'nachnu ma. The pasuk says that the world exists, Eretz al beli ma, because of the schus of ma. Rabbi Lord darshan this pasuk to teach that the world only exists in the schus of people who do not respond in an argument. Ravo said the world exists in the schus of people who treat themselves as if they totally don't exist. Rabbi Yitzchak darshan the pasuk as follows: Ha'umnam elem. The job of a person in this world is to make himself silent like a mute. We would think that it is so even regarding Torah. The pasuk therefore says, Tzedek tedaberim. We would think that one who learns should take pride in having done so. The pasuk therefore says, Meisharim tishpatu b'nei adam. Rav Zera or Rabbi Yemi said, we may cover blood with the earth, meaning the ashes of an ir nidachas. But these ashes are also brown. No, how could they be used? And Rav Zeiri said this refers to the hard earth of the city, which does not become also. Rav said even the ashes may be used because mitzvahs were not given for benefit, and therefore using the ashes for a mitzvah is not considered to be benefiting from the ashes. Ravina repeated the ruling of Rav. Chume asked that Brisa says that a shofar of Avodah Zarah may not be used for Rosh Hashanah. Presumably, this means that if one did use it, he's not yaitze. This must be because he's considered to have benefited from the shofar, and this refutes Rava. Ravina said, if this shofar is used, he would be yaitzer. Chume asked, the Brisa says that a lulav of Avodah Zarah may not be used for the mitzvah. Presumably, this means that if it was used, the person would not be yaitzer and refutes Rava. Ravina said, no, the person would be yaitzer. Chume asked, a Brisa clearly says that he would not be yoytze with the shofar or with the lulav. Rav Ashi said regarding shofar and lulav, there's a required size, and since they are avodah zarah, they're considered not to have the required size. Regarding kisei adam, the smaller the size, the better. Therefore, the ashes of the nadachas may be used. Hanalach perek kisei adam. Perek Gid Anoshe, Perek Shvi'i. Zok the Heilige Mishnah b'siyata d'shmaya. The Isser of a Gid Anoshe applies in Eretz Yisrael and in Chutz La'aretz, when the base of Midrash exists, and after the Churban. To animals of Chullin and of Kachim. It applies to behemoths and Chayas, to the right thigh and to the left thigh, but does not apply to birds because they don't have a kaf, a spoon-shaped flesh on the thigh. It also applies to a fetus, a full-term live ben pakua. Rabbi Yehuda says the Gid Anoshe does not apply to a fetus, and its chelev is mutter. Rabbi Meir says that butchers are not believed regarding the removal of the Gid Anoshe. The Chum say they are believed regarding the Gid Anoshe and chelev. It seems obvious the Gid Anoshe of Kachim is also, just because it's Kodesh, the Isser should be removed. You can't say that Tana means to say that one who eats sinews is considered to have had Hano. Sinews impart flavor and therefore provide benefit, and therefore the Mishnah means to say that the Isser of eating Kachim will take effect on the Isser of Gid Anoshe, and one who eats it will be Chayiv for both Isurim. Because if that's what the Mishnah is teaching, it should have said that the Isser of Kachim applies to the Gid Anoshe, not the other way around. And if the Mishnah holds that one who eats sinews does not have Hano, the Mishnah is therefore teaching that if one eats the Gid Anoshe of Kachim, he's only Chayiv for the Isser of Gid Anoshe and not for the Isser of eating Kachim. In fact, does the Mishnah really hold that one is not Chayiv for eating a sinew of Kachim? The Mishnah says if a thigh was cooked along with the Gid Anoshe, if there's enough Gid Anoshe to impart flavor in it, it's usher. We see that sinews do give off flavor and thereby benefit. And for rather, the Mishnah is discussing a case of offspring of Kachim, and the Mishnah holds that Gid Anoshe does apply to a fetus. The Mishnah also holds that the fetus becomes Kodesh while still in the mother's womb as it was formed. This means that the Isser of Gid Anoshe and the Isser of Kachim take effect on the fetus at the very same time. That's the point that our Mishnah is trying to teach. In fact, how can you say that the first part of the Mishnah is referring to a fetus when the later part of the Mishnah introduces the case of fetus? And furthermore, the later part of the Mishnah comes to teach that the case of fetus that was previously discussed is actually a subject of machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanon. In fact, can we really say that the Isser of Gid Anoshe and the Kachim take effect at the same time? And Mishnah says a Nazir must shave his head and complete the process of a Tamei Nazir if he becomes Tamei from a mace or a kezayis of flesh from a mace. The Gemara asks, if he becomes tummy from even a kazayas, why do you have to say he becomes tummy from a whole mace? The Gemara answers, Rabbi Yochanan said, the words a mace are needed to teach that he becomes tummy and subject to the process from a fetus whose limbs are not yet fully attached with sinews and are therefore not given the halachic status of limbs. However, since it's a complete mace, the nazir will become tummy from it even if it has less than a kazayas of flesh. This shows that the limbs are created before the sinews, which means that the Isser of Kachim takes effect before the Isser of Gid Anasha. And the Gemara, although the Isser of Kachim takes effect first, the Isser of Gid Anasha is more stringent in that it even applies to Bnei Noach, and therefore it takes effect on top of the Isser of Kachim. The view that it applies to Bnei Noach is the view of Rabbi Yehuda. Our mission doesn't follow the view of Rabbi Yehuda because he holds that the Isser does not apply to the Gid Anasha of both thighs, and our mission says that it does. And for the Gemara, the Tana of our Mishnah holds like him regarding one thing, argues regarding another thing. The Isser of Gid Anasha is only more stringent than a regular lav. It's not more stringent than the Isser of Kachim, which carries a Karis penalty, and for the Gemara, rather the Mishnah is referring to an animal of Chullin that's having a Bechar, The Gid Anasha takes effect on this Bechar, even though it's Kadosh, either because the Gid Anasha takes effect in the womb, and the Kedusha doesn't take effect until it's born, or even if the Gid Anasha takes effect when it's born, the Isser of Gid Anasha and of Kodesh take effect at the same time. Second teretz, we can also answer that offspring of Kachim only become Kadosh when they are born, not inside the womb. Therefore, the Isser of Gid Anasha either takes effect before the Isser of Kachim or at the same time.